What's up, CFO gang? It's your boy Jtuck. Real Cowboys fans, stand up, and yo, we are continuing our series as we gear up for camp. We got a few weeks here, actually a few days before we get ready for camp. And I know y'all excited. I know y'all can feel the Dallas Cowboys football. I know some of y'all front like, I don't care, Tuck. Yeah, I don't care what they do in the red. Y'all care, and we're all going to be tuned in. But had to bring in a very special guest. Don't want to call her a guest. She's more like my sister, man. Couldn't be more proud of her. You know, she was someone who called into my show. I remember originally I was doing a live show like on a Saturday. Y'all normally don't do like Saturdays or something. And I had posted the phone line. She called in, and the whole time she was talking, I'm just like, who the hell is this? Because she got it. She got some star potential. I was like, who is that? So I put it on Twitter. I was like, yo, whoever that was that called in, find her, because she definitely has it. And she's worked her way up. She's doing an incredible job for the Dallas Cowboys show. If you watched it, Girls Talk Boys podcast, you know, she's killing the draft show. She's out there, you know, doing a lot of scouting out there in Mobile, Alabama. She is doing the damn thing, and I could not be more proud of her. So I had to bring her on as we gear up for camp. So CFO fam, let's give a warm welcome for my sister, Iisha Morrison. What's going on, sis?
Hi. Man, how long has it been since we did this?
I don't know. I don't know the last time. I mean, we've done some kind of. It's the Super Shows. That was like last year.
We haven't just wrapped and talked ball. And man, listen,
we haven't done it on camera.
No. Crazy that you talk about, because you always bring up, most of the time we introduce and you bring up the phone call. I was shaking because I was not in this world at all. I was just working at Buffalo Wild Wings at that point. So I was like, all of this football was in my head to that point. So on the call, like, that's like some of the first time I started like saying this stuff out loud. So I was like, are these people gonna think I'm crazy?
not at all. And of course, like when you're calling in, I'm trying to pay attention, like and kind of answer your question. But the back of my mind, I'm like, who the hell is this? I was like, who is she? You know what I'm saying? Like, she is talented, and that's why I always call you, still to this day, superstar, because the very first time I heard you speak, I was like, oh, she got it. She's going to be different, and you are doing the damn thing. I could not be more proud. You are cooking. You're cooking. You don't even got to be at Buffalo Wild Wings no more. You cooking. You cooking when it comes to this Dallas Cowboys content. I need to try to find that video. Like I said, it was so random. I think it was like a random Saturday. I don't know.
We got to find it.
Find it.
Just to hear the progress, the development, but also too, nah, man, like, I think it's important to me, like, despite the fact that I work for the mothership and everything now, people sometimes be like, don't change, and I'm like, I can't change. Like, you guys really encouraged me to start, like, and encouraged me that I fit here, that I belonged here, and I think I owe you guys to an extent. And so I'm never going to abandon the YouTube community, because you guys really were how I learned football. I was listening to y'all before I started, actually calling in and stuff. So I appreciate what you do for the community. I love how you rile some things up. You're not scared to say some things that other people will say. I mean, you always keep conversation going. So you're valued in the community as well, Tuck.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and it's all about football, and that's the thing I love the most about you when we have our conversation. It's just pure football, film, analytics, like what's really going on, and I think that's what really separates you from a lot of people. You know, not just women. I'm gonna say, oh, she's just no. I'm talking about anybody, man, female, whatever. I will put my sis up against anybody because she definitely knows her stuff. But the most important thing, we talked about this behind the scenes, you're always working on your craft, working to get better. And that's something I really, advocate myself on. It's like, I'm always watching film. I'm asking, like Gerald McCoy even said it, like me and Gerald were up to like 2 a.m. one time. And I was just asking questions. Okay, what about this? Like, what is this scheme? Like, what is this? Because I'm just a sponge for information. You're the same way, and I think that's what helped propel you to the top. And you haven't even reached your peak. You know what I'm saying? You not even reached your peak. You know what I'm saying? But we get into a contract when it comes to the price. Yesterday's price is not today's price when it comes to Iisha Morrison.
It's
going up, bad going up for the both of us. You know what I'm saying? Don't make me CeeDee Lamb this thing and hold out. You know what I'm saying? I just want to get my bag. You know what I'm saying? Because I will do it. I will hold out. But speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, we are gearing up for camp. So as we sit right here, kind of middle of July-ish, heading out to Oxnard, what are some of the interesting nuggets that you're looking at just red flag. Let's start with the red flag. No, actually start with the good. What are some of the positives that you were looking for as we gear up for Camp in Oxnard?
One of the positives to me is, the hire of Mike Zimmer. I actually am. I have a lot of respect for his system. I have a lot of respect for. We already know he's one of the only D coordinators that really understands how to counter the Shanahan scheme, which is what a lot of good offenses model their offense after now. So his mind and his football mind is something that I'm very excited to take a look more into and to have some tangible information about. From a Cowboys perspective, I'm excited to see his usage of some of the guys that we have on this roster, specifically the safeties and the linebackers, and just how we talk about it every year. Penalties, discipline, those things. So much talent on this team, right? But for him to come in and maybe lay a new foundation is something that I'm actually excited about, man. And hopefully he can help them get over the hump with some of the stuff that they've struggled with, which are things that he literally specializes in: the discipline side of things, being deceptive, and also to just really catering to stopping the run.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned being deceptive, because I put this tweet out there. You say kind of stirring things up, right? And a lot of people are like, what is you talking about? I feel like Coach Zimmer is naturally going to help Dak Prescott. And people are like, Tucker tripping. But I felt like the deceptiveness in this defensive scheme has been something that we've seen Dak struggle with, right? Sometimes they might show a single high safety look, and they might bail out and go into a cover 2 look post snap, right? And that's really what Zim's philosophy. I mean, if you watch his film, definitely go back to the Vikings film, man, you had his safeties were moving all over the place. Right. You know what I'm saying? Playing those mind games and those chess matches with the offense. And I think that's going to be an important piece, because all you have to do is cause a disruption in that timing, and then let Micah and then D-Law and go hunt. Like you ain't got much time to think back there. And I think that's where Zim is really going to show the improvement is on the back end.
No, I'm very glad that you brought that up, because, I think that, well, number one, the run game is going to be important as well. Let's start there. But we did see, and we have seen, I think people get a little too hung up on the too high safety thing, giving Dak issues. I think a lot of that is predicated on the fact that the run game hasn't been good enough to counter that, because come on. But that is something that I want to see him improve with. And to your point, he's going to be practicing up a different type of defense, specifically to a scheme type defense that is similar to the ones that I've given this offense trouble before. So yeah, you're right in that regard. They're going to get some good reps against each other in that. And so I'm excited about the usage of the safeties.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Talk about it. Yeah,
we'll talk about that here in a second. Now, you mentioned that we added on Mike Zimmer. We moved on from Dan Quinn, but from a player's perspective, since you're in the locker room, right? So you're closer than anybody. Like, how do you feel like the defensive players are kind of feeling coming in to this new season? Because I've always had this mindset. It's like, granted, what happened versus Green Bay was bad, right? We know what happened. But I feel like from the defensive standpoint, like, we're not a bad defense. So I don't feel like we need saving, like it's not kind of like when Dan Quinn came in for Mike Nolan. It was just like, bro, anything you got, just help. But I feel like you just got to fix some things. But as far as the mindset with a lot of defensive players, how has that been in the locker room?
So from a couple of guys I've talked to, I think I've talked to more guys in the secondary, they do seem somewhat encouraged about some of the changes, specifically being able to play the matchup game. Because, with Dan Quinn, it was, you going to run man or you going to run cover 1, cover 3. And again, it worked for this defense for a while, but then there were some issues later on in the season with how teams were attacking you. We heard Green Bay players, they had an answer for everything against those coverages. So, I do think there is some excitement with being able to play the matchup game and to really focus matchups depending on the team, and it to not consistently be, these are my words, I'm paraphrasing, for it to not consistently be, this is what we do, can you beat it? Because what the hell happens when people start beating it, which is what was happening, or if your pass rush doesn't get home. And we saw the trend is that when this team didn't get turnovers, they were struggling to win games.
Right.
I really am hoping to see them be able to, turnovers are a plus, but them still be very disruptive and make plays on the ball with some of the vision defense and some of the things that, Zim likes to do late into the play clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people really don't look at. We look at turnovers, we look at sacks, but what's most importantly for me is getting off the field on third down, stopping those drops, right? And it's not as attractive, right? You know what I'm saying? It's getting a third down stop. Well, it is for me or for us, right? But I feel like, yeah, you can't just rely on the turnover or the sacks. I feel like that was the Dallas Cowboys' biggest Achilles heel. Defensively, we were kind of I'd say a two-trick pony, right? Like you said, if it wasn't Deron Bland getting the interception or a pick six or Micah Parsons getting a sack, the defense looked completely different. And I just feel like once you get into the playoffs and play those caliber teams, when you're playing those quarterbacks that don't turn over the ball, right, and they're going to control the clock, what defense are you really? And I feel like there's going to be a big opportunity for improvement also with the self-discipline. I feel like with Dan Quinn, especially with the front seven, there's a lot of different things going on, right, with all the different stunts and twists and like just play your role, do your role. And I think that, a lot of the players have already kind of spoken about Zim. He just wants you to do your job. Go out there, do your job. And if you don't do your job, we might.
I like that too, because I think, a lack of accountability brings about bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, the one thing about Zim is like hearing that, Malik Hooker mentioned it. Hey man, if you're not getting it right, you're going to have to get off the field. Right. And like that's how it needs to be. And I'm glad that you mentioned him doing some of the deceptive stuff. Like you really are trying to get offenses to have something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And your intent is to have quarterbacks second guess and try to figure things out. And I just think we weren't challenging quarterbacks but with the pass rush that didn't always get home towards the end. I think this is overall going to make the defense better with some of the things that he's bringing in. So, yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, talking to some of the players, they seem excited about some of the changes. So we'll see how things go.
That's something to definitely keep right. I think all eyes in Oxnard will be on the defense. Like there's some offensive stuff, right? For me, yeah, because there's not a lot of room for a learning curve, especially with the way our schedule is. Like I know it's Cleveland, but Cleveland got some dogs out there, literally, And so like you got to be prepared. The Saints are no easy win, and then you got the Ravens coming, so it can't be a situation kind of like last year with their offense. Even though we 40-balled the Giants game one, so everything doesn't count. Where it kind of just took some time for things to kind of simmer and figure out. I feel like for the Cowboys, it's like we need our defense to at least be a shell of what they was last year. It can't be a complete overhaul. And I think Malik Hooker spoke about that with the Keyshawn interview. Like they're not going to tear everything down and completely rebuild. It's going to take what Dan Quinn did well, but put Zim's principles on it. And I think that's where we got to definitely keep our eye on because it's like if our defense isn't what we used to, we rely heavily on our defense and just like don't break it, just tweak it, but just don't break it. And that's my ask from Coach Zimmer.
I agree. I mean, I think Zim will use, I think he will use like some nickel, some dime in situations, but I do think we're gonna see a different base. What are you thinking? What do you think the base may look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're gonna probably see a lot of 4-3, but I think honestly, because people talk about Big Nickel, in the absence of J-Ron, but I feel like when you have Overshown back, if fully healthy, right, and looking by his workouts, and we'll talk about him in a second, it looks like he's showing that he's recovering, right, at a healthy rate. So people got to remember when Overshown was at the University of Texas, he was a safety. He was a safety converted to linebacker. So he has some of those coverage traits. And also with Maris, he's more of a coverage linebacker. So, what will our 4-3 look like? It will probably look like a big nickel, but with linebackers, right? I think the question mark for me is, where is Damone Clark really going to fit in? Like, so are you kind of going with Kendricks, Maris, and then your quote unquote nickel guy would be Overshown, or would your two middle linebackers quote unquote be Clark, Kendricks, and then Maris or Overshown to be kind of your quasi nickel guy? So that's going to be interesting to see how that all works out for me.
From a Damone Clark standpoint, we saw Dan Quinn start doing some things where he was lining up Damone next to like kind of shading Micah on the line of scrimmage, and they were rushing together. And I thought that he showed some decent things on film doing that. I wonder if we start seeing Damone like from a little bit more of a pass rushing role, even so situationally this year, with what the rotation is and how the rotation is going to be this year as well.
Yeah. And I think he went to like a coverage camp doing some coverage training. So
yeah, and don't forget about Marquise Bell too.
Let's talk about Bell.
Yeah, I thought that Marquise Bell, I mean, listen, so much respect for Marquise Bell for what he did, playing linebacker, being asked to in that way, and him stepping up to the plate. But I got happy when I seen safety next to his name on that dang
So he's
roster.
back. Okay, he's back.
Yeah, he's definitely listed as a safety again. I really, in my mind, thought that he would be, even though, like you said, there are gentlemen that are on the linebacker side that have coverage ability. I thought that he would become that guy in that situation as well, because that's where he really thrived at last year, was in coverage. It's the only places he struggled were in the run game sometimes. So yeah, I think Marquise Bell suited to take over that position for Jaron Kearse as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's good to hear that he's moving back to safety. Like I said, a lot of people, Marquise Bell, he was too small. Hey, he was just doing what he was asked to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got an opportunity to play, and hats off to Marquise Bell for going out there. And he, like I said, he wasn't a bad linebacker. It was just a situation where if you're 205 pounds and you let these 300-pound guards get up to the second level and get on top of you, it's just weight. Even if you play video games, the same thing will happen, right? But it's no slight to Marquise Bell. Extremely talented. I loved him when he was in, Coffeyville Community College, and the list goes on and on. So it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out with him. Like, what's the design? Is he really going to be in the play? Now, let's pivot, because you mentioned another important room, the safety room.
Right.
And this is unfamiliar territory, sis, because it used to be, when I started doing content, it was just like we used to pray for safety. Like, oh my God, Earl Thomas, they was like, give me Earl Thomas. Oh, Jamal Adams, just give them whatever they want. Like, we just wanted one safety. Now we have an abundance of talent at the safety position, whether it's Wanye Thomas, who still needs some opportunity, got Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, Marquise Bell. I believe Israel McQuamu has an S by his name. What we say? Or he's
safety.
Yeah,
big year for him too.
Yeah, safety for him. Then you have the undrafted kid in Julius Woods, who I kind of like. So I mean, it's just like, I
really like.
Yeah. Salute to Big Game James. So it's like, oh my God, we got so many. I don't know how it shapes out. So kind of knowing what you've known about Zim's defense in the past, and of course we don't know what he's going to run in Dallas, right? Because it's all smoke and mirrors. But how do you think the safety room plays out, and who gets the most out of the opportunity under Zim's defense?
Well, I mean, Zim, he does use, some of the strong safeties close to the line of scrimmage. Depending on what they're doing, he'll have a robber every now and then. But really what he's looking for on the back end with some of the things he wants to do, you need to have an IQ. You got to be smart. You got to be able to process. And you have to be able to go hash to hash. Who's the most rangy? And to me, the most rangy, to me personally right now, would be Thomas and Malik Hooker back there together. And again, this is obviously no slight to Donovan Wilson. I just think we've seen that he works best when he's close to the line of scrimmage and doing some things like that. Marquise Bell has the ability to be rangy clearly as well, but I also think that he works the intermediate middle, game close to the line of scrimmage better as well. So for me, I think that's kind of how things are going to be. I would expect to see a kind of a rotation of guys depending on what the matchup called for, but it's the way that he likes to do things with that split safety. Right. He don't, if you can't run, if you can't get to the other half, he not going to have you out there.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's gonna be those are who I think. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm with you, and this is the conversation we've been having. I just think that Wanye naturally just fits what Zim likes to do. Like you said, he likes rangy safeties. He likes people that can move, that you can show at the line of scrimmage and drop and ghost and get back and drop in deep coverage if need be. So you got to be able to turn and run. And people forget, like I posted in this video, I did this film breakdown. I forgot when I did that. Like, Wanye return kick. So he's extremely athletic and he has great upside ability. But then also, he's still very young, you know what I'm saying? So he's still kind of, vanilla when it comes to getting his opportunities versus Donovan Wilson, who's just a hitman, an assassin. So I think it's a good situation where Zim has options. He has options. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference that you mentioned, sis, is that you can adjust according to the game. Like, I think Dan Quinn came like, listen, this is what we do. We gonna do it regardless, but there's never a counter punch. So I like that Zim will probably be able to adjust. It's like, okay, maybe they're, based on the matchup, okay, maybe we're playing a run heavy team like the Ravens. Maybe this is where I need to pull out my Donovan Wilson, card and use this a little bit more. And then if we play an air attack, then maybe you have to go with the rangier Wanye. But it's definitely the position I'm going to be watching, especially defensively, to see how all of them are utilized. Like I said, even if you add Israel Mukuamu in that mix, it's like there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent with guys who have extreme upside, and I'm not sure if the Cowboys are going to cut ties with any of them because it's raw. But then the hard part is like, what is Zim's flavor of ice cream? And that's the hard part when you put Zim on a 1-year deal is, who are his guys? We know what DQ like. I know how to shop for DQ, but what does Zim really like? And we're going to see that when we got there in Oxnard.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely could see. I mean, we're talking about Wanye, but I definitely think, but given the fact that Marquise Bell had to really be a part of the front seven, that might serve him as far as processing goes to be able to be, on the back end with Malik as well. So we'll see how that battle shakes out between those guys and see if that's something they're going to be competing for. But to your point, there's versatility, and we haven't had that. And so I'm excited about that. But then on the other end of things, when you talk about a Julius Wood, when you talk about a Donovan Wilson, these are guys that are willing to help in the run game too. So I think I'm a little more excited about Julius Wood than what I need to be. So we'll just
and see, that's when we nerd out, man. I think that kind of separates what we do in our community. Is like I'm ready for I'm going to the game in Vegas. We're like, why are you going to a preseason game? There's people that I need to see. You know what I'm saying? I need to see. I need to see Julius Woods. You know what I'm saying? I need to see, Justin Rogers. Is he going to be? I need to see, Brevin Ford or Span Ford. Is he going to be ready? Like, these are guys I think that's going to have an impact. And when the Dallas Cowboys, like we know the Dallas Cowboys, there's going to be one of these guys, 3 of these guys that might come out of nowhere that's going to have a significant role throughout the season. TJ Bass was one of them. Marquise Bell was another one. Wanye Thomas was one. Terrence Steele, the list goes on and on. Brock Hoffman, so it's like,
this is a big preseason for
it is. It is. And let's go ahead and pivot to that. So, I want to talk about the difference between year one guys, or our rookie class from this year, versus last year. So, like, case in point, Eric Scott Jr. versus a Kalen Carson. So how do you think those types of battles are going to work out as we get to camp? Because it's like, I know they drafted Eric Scott last year. They traded up for him last year, but that was also Dan Quinn last year. And then you have a Kalen Carson, who I absolutely just love. Like, so how do you think that's all going to shape out once you start that position with those two?
Man, listen.
Well, let me pause and ask you this.
Yeah.
Diggs coming back, right? We see the videos. But is Bland being viewed as an outside corner, or is he going back into the inside?
From what I saw at OTAs, they were working Carson on the boundary.
Okay.
They're working him on the boundary. Now, I don't know if that's because Trayvon wasn't out there yet, so it was him.
Okay.
And Nashawn Wright was out there a couple of times as well. I would like to see, I think Deron Bland did a good job being on the outside, but he is just a different animal in that nickel. But you also have to say, okay, but you have Jordan Lewis, who to me might have been our best DB to finish the year last year. So there's some weird depth there that I wasn't expecting, specifically at the nickel spot. What you think?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because I was like, honestly, with J. Lou returning, I would be more comfortable having Bland on the outside.
Tracking.
J. Lou in the inside, and then Diggs is doing what Diggs does best, right?
So you don't want Carson to come out right away.
Yeah, so he might be the slow play. He might be cornerback 4, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, unless you go, let's go dime or something like that. But it's like, I think if I had to do it my way, I'm keeping Bland on the outside, because Jordan Lewis has to be out there, and he's not going to play on your boundary. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I would personally put Deron Bland.
The comfortable way to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's the definitely.
It's a costly way. It's a costly way.
It's a little safe.
The outside price is a little different. The outside price is a little different than the inside price. You know what I'm saying? But
it's a little safe. But it's a little safe as far as you got coaches coming in here that are on 1-year deals to just go with the now veteran as opposed to a Kalen Carson. But I'm gonna tell you something. I think that Carson is gonna make people notice him,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna get kind of weird at some point in time. I mean, the kid is confident,
Yeah. And you
fluid, feisty,
and put him in the room with Al Harris. Oh my God. Like
willing in the run game.
mm,
And he's bigger than what he looks. I don't know if we talked about that, but he's bigger. He looks bigger in person than what I think people think he is for real. Man, listen, we'll see. It's crazy that that's actually become like a point of conversation as far as competition goes. And with Eric Scott, like you said, he definitely has to come out and show some of the things he's able to do too to make this roster.
yeah, because Eric Scott, he was one of the guys that I like. Cause when I was out there in Oxnard, he was lights out, but when the lights came on, he really just didn't show, right? So it's like, is he going to be able to stack that and also perform in game? But if not, like I said, you got a whole new draft class of what possibly quote unquote Zim actually likes. How is that going to shape out? So thinking of another battle just from last year's class to this year's class, I think a lot of people think Jalen Brooks versus Jalen Tolbert, which kind of makes sense, right? But Jalen Brooks wasn't a high draft pick, so he's not like his job is safe. And then you got Ryan Flournoy coming in, who I think is a big physical boundary wide receiver coming in. So how do you think that wide receiver 3 spot really shapes out between Tolbert, Brooks, and also Ryan?
I think Tolbert earns a spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we want to make it more interesting. I do believe that Cowboys fans are a little impatient when it comes to what they've seen from Jalen Tolbert. And if you're looking at the film from last year, homie is open a lot.
Right.
It's just that one read, that 88
right
is open.
Oh, right. Oh, reliable.
And Dak's not gonna come off that read, bro. He's not just gonna. There's no way he can be looking at film on Monday and justify going to his 3 when his 1 is just cooking people every time he gets the ball. So, but I thought that Jalen Tolbert, once they shifted and they realized that Michael Gallup was maybe going to be, not here this year, I think that they started giving Jalen Tolbert more snaps. And I know you saw, and productive then. He was reliable really on some big third downs in games. And I don't know if he had any drops last year. If
I don't think so. Yeah.
He was reliable when the ball was thrown to him, willing to block on the outside. He was active in special teams. I think he's on an upward tick. And if he can come on with it and really be a threat, we already know teams maybe have 1 cornerback, maybe have 2, but baby to have 3. And I believe that if you have 3 legitimate receiving threats in that way, minus Ferg, then it'll really open up the offense more from an aerial side of points.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And of course, him and Brooks was ironically they're out there training with Brandon Cooks, and Brandon Cooks is kind of taking both of them under the wing. Yes. But I feel like last year was night and day difference from the Jalen Tolbert we saw his rookie year, and he even said that. I think he was on West Coast's show with Henny and Landlords. Like the offense was just too much. Where he was just like, I don't know. But you kind of saw him at camp. He was tied to Brian Schottenheimer. He was asking questions. He was, connected with Dak Prescott, and his confidence was just oozing out of his body out there in training camp. And it kind of carried over to when he got his opportunity, he did make a play. Now it wasn't, oh my God, I'm gonna go buy a Jalen Tolbert jersey, which I probably would. But it's like, it wasn't that. But when his name number was called, he definitely went out there and made a play. So I think it's his job to lose. But I think with Brooks and with Ryan behind him, it could be a situation where, okay, it could happen. But if I had to bet money, I would bet Jalen Tolbert on winning that job. Now, speaking of the offense, the offensive line, like there's a lot of, I don't want to say question marks. Well, yeah, it can question marks, right? So from your standpoint, I want to focus on the very most important piece, I think, as of right now, is the right tackle position. So overall, how has Terrence kind of progressed this offseason? Have you talked to him? Have you seen him? What's your thoughts on Terrence?
Oh, no, man. Well, honestly, if you go look at the last maybe 3-4 games, you can see that he was getting more confidence and sitting in his anchor and getting a little bit more powerful in that way, because I really felt like he was leaning a lot. Like you could tell he was using his upper body more, to try to control blocks, and that's not the way to do it. I think that Terrence is going to come out and be himself again. I don't really see him struggling in that way. I think the ACL did play a big role in some of the stuff we saw, but also too, I said it with Jeff. I think that Terrence is someone also too that finds confidence in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
His confidence in the run game translates to what he's able to do as a pass pass protector. And so I think that our lack of efficiency in the run game affected his confidence as well. Like, and it trickled down to that point. I'm looking for, with this offensive line, I'm really looking at run scheme and figuring out how these guys are able to, insert themselves into games so it'll manifest. You wear guys down in the run game, they're not gonna have the same energy pass rushing.
Right.
They're just not.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a good balance of that enough to me. So with Terrence, I've also had numerous conversations with him. He's very cognizant of what he puts in his body, how he works. He's been with Duke this whole time. You know how he gets there. So one thing about him is that I know he's going to do the work.
Right.
He's going to do the work. So over a year removed from, and another thing about Terrence, let me go ahead and say, there's only one person on this team that didn't miss a snap.
Terrence.
That's Terrence Steele.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back from an ACL injury. Actually, he was early on his ACL injury. He did us a favor, to be honest, because who's the right tackle behind him? I'll wait.
Mm-hmm.
And people were so nasty towards him, and I'm like, yo, do y'all understand that it may not look pretty all the time right here for him, but the other options would be terrifying.
It'd be terrifying.
It would be terrifying. So I was okay with going through some of the growing pains. But if you even go look at the Green Bay game, he was looking more of himself. But I think the lack of run game didn't help him coming back from that injury and gaining confidence in that again.
Yeah, and people got to understand that as your offensive line, and yes, Jtuck played offensive lineman for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I was an all-city offensive line. I was an all-city left tackle, blind side, you know what I'm saying? I held it down, had no idea what I was doing, but I was just out there balling, right? But the run game gets your confidence going, gets you in momentum. It's just like those punches, right? First down, second down, third, first, like it gets you into a momentum. And plus, when you're just pass setting for an entire game for 50 throws, you're playing on your back foot, you're playing on your back heel. And it's just like, it's kind of hard to get that confidence. So I agree, sis, to be able to line up, whether you're going to go with 2 tight ends or you're going to go with a fullback and Zeke back there and really punch people in the mouth will help Terrence out, because that's what we always banked on, like the right side, just run to the right side, run behind Terrence. But when we didn't have that, it definitely changed the way our offense will look. Now, the other right side, Zach Martin, the butcher, you're good, right? But the center position, right? We drafted Cooper Beebe. We moved on for Tyler Biadasz. You also have Brock Hoffman. I think that's a battle. Now, I know a lot of people, and self-included, I love Cooper. I've been plotting on Cooper Beebe for years. You know what I'm saying? My neighbor. I've been plotting on him for years, right? But what I'm trying to tell people is, don't expect Brock Hoffman to go out without a fight. I think Brock Hoffman's going to battle, and if I had to bet my money on who's the week 1 starter, I would say Brock Hoffman. So the center position is one of the most important positions on the offensive line. That's the brain trust. So how do you see that working out and how that battle is going to happen out in camp?
I think it's, I hate using this phrase, but it's a good problem to have.
Right.
I feel very strongly about depth on the offensive line with how the seasons have gotten prolonged and things like that. So I'm like, yo, if you got guys that can come in, TJ Bass, a Hoffman, or a BB, depending on, an Awesome Richards to be, we'll see, to be determined. If you got guys like that can come in and you don't have to completely alter your offense, you're cooking with grease. That's blessing. It is a luxury. Not every team got it like that. So I think, but I also believe that the competition at safety is healthy, because I didn't like the fact that there wasn't adequate competition with Tyler Biadasz while he was here. For the majority of the time he was here, it was his job, and it was his job. And you know that in football, it's like, hey man, like if ain't nobody pushing me, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna operate the same. Not to say that he was working any lazier, but you needed competition in that room. So I'm glad that it's there. But I will say, if we were in a situation where, and I know we're gonna get to the left side, so maybe I'll wait. I'll wait.
Okay. Yes, because we're working our way on down the line. No, but I think that's a good situation. I feel like in our offensive line interior, right, from the center to right guard to left guard, we have some depth pieces that we can definitely move around, because you could. I mean, if things really hit the fan, you could have Hoffman play center, you could have Cooper Beebe play his natural position in guard, or you could put in TJ Bass, who got a lot of good reps. So you got that flexibility, right? Tyler Smith, I guess they stamped it right. I don't know. It just is what it is. He is a guard. He's the guard of the future, right? In Dallas. So it's like, all right, cool. It just is what it is. So we'll move on from Tyler. But I feel like Tyler's going to have another uptick because Tyler, man, he's a beast. And I feel like at the guard position, I feel like Tyler Smith playing guard is like me playing video games on the East. Like, it's kind of just too easy for him, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, you know, it's just Tyler. But I feel like Tyler it's just, you know, he's growing at a rapid pace where it's like he's no longer just young little rookie Tyler no more. Like, he's going to be a veteran leader on our team that we're going to have to rally around, especially in the absence of Tyron now. You know, like, he's one of those guys, right? So I'm interested to see how Tyler takes the leap. Now, the other Tyler, right? Tyler Guyton. I know a lot of people had mixed feelings. Me personally, I like the athleticism. I like the upside. But it was just like, is he going to be day one ready? And the thing that I don't like how the Cowboys went about Tyler Guyton, like you said, the insurance policy at the left tackle position, right? Because when we drafted Tyler Smith, if he hit the fan, okay, well, we had Jason Peters. We had, you know, Tyron Smith. Okay, we were still good. I feel like Tyler Guyton has to hit the ground running week one, or yikes. And it's Myles Garrett. Yikes. So what's your thoughts on the young rookie? What have you seen and kind of heard around him and kind of learned from him since he's been drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the first round this past season?
Yeah, this is a great kid. Let me just start with that. Just very willing to learn, very coachable. He's very mature and how he carries himself, and he takes this very seriously as well. That's evident. So he's gonna do the work. It's like, that's half of it with me. Or like, are you going to apply yourself and do the work? Now, as far as him being a right side player, and now, you know, coming into the NFL and being expected to be a left tackle, naturally, there are going to be some growing pains, dude. I'm trying to prepare myself for that. You mentioned, you know, we talked about like the comfortable lineup. I do think that maybe Chumi Edoga to start would be the comfortable lineup, but I'm not a huge fan of that either. But, you know, you mentioned that they stamped Tyler Smith as the left guard. Hey, if it's looking real ugly, why wouldn't you kick him? I would just kick him over there, and you have a TJ Bass or a Cooper Beebe,
right,
that can go ahead and man that guard spot.
Yeah,
like you say, people can say what they want to say, but this offensive line, and how, if something were to go wrong, what some of the options they can fall upon could be beneficial at some point in time in the season, because everybody can't say that. Now, I don't like the idea of Tyler Smith having to bounce back and forth, but if it's to save the season,
right,
if it's like it has to happen, and maybe Tyler Guyton is struggling a little bit, then yeah, like that's an option. But I fully expect for him to have some highs and some lows, with him transitioning from being a right side player to a left side player.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to pre-warn Cowboys next. Because, we drafted, Cowboys always hit when we draft offensive linemen in the first round, and we saw what Tyler Smith did. So they're having an expectation that, Tyler Guyton's going to come out there and be all pro and Pro Bowl like left tackle. There might be some time it's going to take him to build. Because honestly, remember, Tyler Smith only got tossed at the left tackle due to injury. Like, that was like the last case worst scenario. It's like, we ain't got no other options, bro, so you got to go back out there. But with Tyler Guyton, it's like, I just don't want people to kill his confidence, right? If you go out there and have a bad game versus Myles Garrett and Cam Jordan and the Ravens, like, don't start slapping jumping how Cowboys fans do, right? It's like, listen, you might have to slow play this a little bit longer than we had to slow play Tyler Smith.
Yeah.
But the problem is we don't have an insurance policy. You know what I'm saying? So
the ability is there.
It's all there. Oh yeah, good kid, work hard. Athleticism, size, the feet, tight end background, like, it's all there. I just want Cowboys fans to be patient. So I think that's why people are like, "Oh, Tuck, you don't like to pick." I'm just like, I just needed an insurance policy behind it, just in case. But if something doesn't happen or he's a slow progress, then things look a little bit different. So you mentioned Awesome Richards. And I was asked this question, sis. Do we should view him more as a guard, left tackle, flex? What's the thoughts on Awesome Richards? And do you think that he can be where you see an uptick, or is it still kind of the Matt with Let's Go, Josh Ball wall that's still kind of there?
No, I definitely believe, like, from what heard in the building that there is a lot more confidence in Austin Richards and his ability and what he could be. I mean, honestly, even when you looked at him when he was playing in college, he was going up against adequate competition, and he didn't have a lot of penalties and things like that. Like, he does a really good job at keeping defenders in front of him. His main thing, from what he told me last year, and even talking to some of the coaches, was his striking, and that initial, making that initial contact and being powerful consistently with that, because he can mirror well, like he can keep people in front of him, but it was really like offsetting the defender when he shot his hand. So I'm looking for him to I will say he's put on a lot more size.
Okay, that's good to know.
I know that people were concerned with the power and some of those things as well. I think he's taken that side of things seriously. He's been in the weight room, and he looks significantly bigger than he did the year before. My idea for him was for him to be our swing. I think he has the ability to be a good swing. So that's what I'm looking for him to maybe solidify. I know they kind of wanted that to be Matt Waletzko. He's dealt with multiple injuries. So I believe that he and Awesome are battling for that swing tackle position consistently. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but I don't have anything to say about Josh Ball.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I ain't had it since we drafted, man. I mean, he's trying, but it's just not there, right? It's just not there. I feel like with Matt Waletzko, I saw the attraction because he's extremely athletic, you know what I'm saying? So it's there, but it's just not there yet. And how long can we sit back there and wait?
We can't keep
hoping, right? Because
we talked about it, how this receiver room is, this cornerback room is,
right.
Some of these positions, we don't have time to be sacrificing a position on this roster for a straight up all day maybe. That's been a maybe for.
And I think the reason why they were doing it because they want to prove they were right with the Amari Cooper pick. Like it's just like, it's kind of one of those things like, it's like, all right, you just gotta let it go. Just take the L and move on. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
but we do need to figure out who is going to be, like, we were blessed that Terrence Steele stayed healthy all
right,
because right tackle, there's so many, feels like there's so many more options for at least left tackle, even so, than it is for right tackle.
Right tackle. Because there could be a situation where, and I mentioned this the other day when I spoke with Nick's, like, you might have to kick Tyler Guyton to right tackle. Like you might have to put him in his natural position.
Wouldn't be death.
It wouldn't be bad. You can put Tyler Guyton at the right, Tyler Smith at the left, Cooper Beebe or TJ Baff at the left guard, and get right back to business. You know what I'm saying? Right back to business. You know what I'm saying? So Coach Solari, you know what I'm saying? There you go. Go ahead, copy and paste that clip. You're good. So if that's it, that's the situation.
That's what I was saying about, the place that they're in. Like, one thing that Dallas has done that I will give them credit for is that this offensive line, last year, remember we went into it, we was like, what's going on?
Right.
I feel a lot more comfortable this year going into things with the offensive line now. Now, come on with it with the run scheme. Schottenheimer. In the running back room, that's a whole nother conversation. But you talked about Austin Richards putting on weight. But I want to go to the other side of the trenches about putting on weight. So my biggest red flag right now, sis, as things currently stand, is defensive tackle room. It's just for a team who's been highlighting and branding stop the run, missing kind of the main ingredients, right? So it's just like, what have you heard about the defensive tackle room? I know we had some guys, right? We drafted Justin Rogers and then, Daxon and, Mozzie Smith, who's battling the shoulder. But it's like, what are you hearing as far as the defensive tackle room and how are we going to address the interior? 3 tech, I feel like we're good at 3 tech. Osa going to Osa, right? But sitting right there in front of the center, that big nasty, since we moved on from Hankins, I feel like that's a big void that the Cowboys need to fill, and they're probably going to sit back and wait and see if there's some roster cuts and different things like that, or some kind, But for now, it's just like, because I heard someone say that for minicamp camp they even had like Marshawn Kneeling like playing defensive tackle because they were just out of bodies. And I was like, that's just not a good place. Now, now with Kneeling playing on the inside, I think that's by design. I don't think that has to do with the fact they didn't have any bodies out there. One thing about Marshawn Kneeling, he's capable of that because he's like 275, 280. So his speed and power can deal with being exterior. So that's something I expect to see from him anyway.
To play inside, okay. Nugget there.
I do. I expect to see some of that from him. But as far as how they've handled the DT position, it makes me want to throw up.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me want to throw up. Now I understand that teams like, and even you covered the draft. We saw so many one techs go higher than what they really were
Right.
charged because it's a need.
It's a
right?
need.
It's a need right now, and teams, if they have them, they don't want to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
Ones that are talented, and I knew that in free agency, the Cowboys weren't going to really want to pay some of these top dollar guys. So I expect for them to do it the way that we expect for them to do it, which is wait for cuts, wait for some of those things to work out, because you can't, you absolutely can't go into the season with this. And then we've talked about it with Mike Zimmer's system. He don't play this.
Right.
He don't play interior defensive lineman that's lighting ass.
Right.
He don't play that.
Yeah.
And I do think that Justin Rogers in particular can develop into a suitable one tech, but we know that one tech takes time.
Right.
To get size, patience, two gapping. It takes time development. Right. So they are in desperate need of a veteran that can help you right now. I don't like this rotation and the lack thereof. Mm-hmm. And I am, really going to be looking for Mozzie and seeing what he's going to do. But it's very difficult to rely on something that you just have not seen yet.
Right. And rely so heavily on it. Yeah, we are really putting a lot of eggs in this basket with Mozzie Smith. Like, we're putting a lot of eggs in Mozzie Smith, and also with Tyler Guyton and left tackle. It's just like where those two have to work. Like, it has to work, because if not, just from a simple standpoint, if not even just from a playing standpoint, but from an injury standpoint, like, let's say the shoulder doesn't work out, well, then we're really depleted at the defensive tackle position, and that's not a good situation to be when you have Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry on your first three, and Alvin Kamara your first three games. So it's like
a place to be in, and it's borderline negligent to me, the way that it's been handled. Because also too, if you are going to bring another guy in, maybe during camp, how they did, a couple years ago with Anthony Barr, it's like, dog, he still got to learn the system.
Right.
This needs to be done sooner than later.
Right.
I think this first couple weeks camp.
Right. Yeah.
As soon as you be like, nah, baby not ready, you need to come on with it. You need to figure out, I just don't understand how you lose someone like a Hankins and you just don't care at all to replace them. And especially when you saw from an analytics standpoint how different things were when he was on the field and how much it helped your defense progress. So teams just killed you in the middle of the field, killed the middle of the defense. You think that might be better from a secondary standpoint and second level standpoint, but if your first level can't do it, then
right,
curtains. Them linebackers gonna be sprinting, running.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You spent your money on linebackers to build a linebacker core, but you haven't built the main ingredient, and that is my frustration when it comes to the Cowboys. Is that we can sit back and clearly see these blinking lights, right? So we saw with wide receiver, and they went and got James Washington, and we kept saying like, "Yo, go get some wide receivers," and to the point where we're sitting out here taking OBJ for saying out to Mavericks games because we got desperate at the end of the season. Even last year, as soon as Overshown went down, we need to go get a linebacker. We didn't, so then we're trying to have Dan Quinn cook with these safeties. I hope the Cowboys do not repeat their same process where we're saying we need a defensive tackle. All of a sudden we don't get it. Now it's week 5 and we're scrambling and we're trying to get some guy from the UFL or something, or who was a former 7th round pick and went to Cleveland to bring him in, because that's not going to cut it. We see the hole, we see the blinking light. Just be proactive and go fix it.
Yes, go fix it.
But that is not the Dallas Cowboys way. Sis, I appreciate you for coming on. For everyone who's seen you for the first time, where the hell have y'all been? I don't know where the hell y'all been, but they're seeing you for the first time. Go ahead and let everybody know they can find you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Girls Talk, Boys Talk during the season. That's on DallasCowboys.com. They post on YouTube as well. It's every day, 4 p.m. It'll be every day this week. Lord,
yeah, get to work.
every day this week at 4 p.m. Central Time. My girls and I, we do good work over there. You get scouting reports, you get news from the other team. We have some things in store for you. We also interview players, which is always cool. So come see us. Also too, you can follow me on Twitter. It's Iisha Morrison. That's Iisha with 2 I's. I know that looks like an L. It's not. Do not be dismayed.
Leisha.
Find me there. Leisha, it's hard out here. I've been called Lisa. Lisa. Yeah, you can find me there. I'm very interactive, so if you follow me, comment and things like that. Also, too, I am starting to post my content more on YouTube. It is the same thing. I didn't want to complicate it for you guys. It's Iisha Morrison, if that's where you want to find me. So I appreciate all the support, and Tuck, thank you for sharing your platform with me, Brody.
Always sis, keep doing an incredible job in representing out there. You're killing it. Sometimes I kind of sit back and watch the draft show like this. She's killing, she's smoking it. I'll be telling my kids, like, who is that? I'm like, that's my sis right there. It's like, oh, she's good. My daughter be like, she's good. I'm like, yeah, I know. I mean, she's all right. She's all right. No, you're more than all right.
Like all that. You don't like too much attention.
You are I know. She don't like attention. She don't like photos taken. She don't like any of that. But damn it, that's what the superstar lifestyle is all about. And the trajectory that you on, sis, you better get used to it, because a lot more is coming your way. So I appreciate you for coming on. Keep doing a great job and representing the Dallas Cowboys, making us all proud. For those of you seeing me for the first time, hi, I'm Jtuck. You can follow me on all social media platforms as well at Jtuck151. I keep it simple for y'all. YouTube channel, CFO Sports. Comment, like, subscribe. We got a lot more great guests coming on. We're gearing up for camp. Going to have some players on. We're doing a lot of great things on this channel. You do not want to miss out. And I'm cheating, sis. I'm doing draft content all year. I'm about to start here in a few weeks.
Early too, bro.
Yeah, because I'm not doing the last minute scramble. It's like, okay, the Cowboys just lost, and now we're like, no. I want to be like week or round 5 done by the time season's over, and I'll get the undrafted and all those guys later, because I can't use that much brain power no more. Like, in that short little time from February to April, it's just like go. I need a longer break after the season. Yeah, and the draft is taking a lot of my time. So we're going to do a lot of great content. So you guys definitely have to tune in, turn on that notification bell so you do not miss out. And also follow me on Twitch, because I'm in the game. I'm in the game. I'm in the game right now. You know what I'm saying? She don't play no video games. You know what I'm saying? She's anti whatever. But follow me on Twitch, Jtuck151 as well, man. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged. Go Cowboys.
Peace. Bye.